So, you've decided you want to start impact investing. Great, welcome on board. So what's next? How do you put it in practice? That's what we're going to discuss in this video. It all starts with your definition of success. What is the kind of impact in the world that you want to create with your investments? To sort of help you make that puzzle of what are the right investments for you, it's really useful to use the 5 W's and the how. So, who do you want to invest with? What kind of investments do you want to make? Where do you want to make your investments? And when do you want to start? Do you want to start right now, or do you maybe first want to do a bit more research before you actually start hitting the trigger? And what is kind of the environment that you want to surround yourself with? What are some of the things you want to do yourself? And what are some of the things that you get experts around you to help yourself with? The question is also, what type of investments do you want to make? Do you want to invest in the early stage, the risky stage, or a little bit further along the journey? And who do you want to invest with? Do you want to invest with co-investors? Do you want to maybe get a team around you where you focus on the things as part of the investment process and the building process that excite you the most, but have other people to help cover those areas that you maybe don't get as excited about? There's many different questions to answer. But what you definitely don't have to forget, that even though it's called impact investing, the basic fundamentals still apply. So they need to have really thought well about their business model, they need to have a clear strategy to go into the market, and they basically need to be able to create a meaningful and sizable company in order to have impact. So the great thing about impact investing is the energy. It's actually a little bit addictive to talk to entrepreneurs who have sort of a big vision for the future or a really terrible problem that they want to change in the world. And the fun thing about you being part of that company is that you get to join them in creating sort of a better world and being part of the creative process of creating something new from scratch. So what is difficult and actually quite important, because you meet a lot of different entrepreneurs who have interesting visions that you want to understand better, is how do you decide to pick the ones that you're going to invest in and the ones that you don't? How do you pick sort of the winners? For you, your definition of success, but also you want to have some startups in your, let's say, portfolio that also have a potential for a financial return. Because if you have money coming back to you after several years and a potential exit, it also means that you continue to build out your portfolio and have more impact moving forward. So when building Rockstart in the past 10 years, we've worked with over 200 early stage companies. And what's the consistent factor with all those companies is that they all wanted to grow, they all needed to, let's say, make investments to build a product, to internationalize a product before they could see the returns and revenue. So they all needed to raise funding, they all needed to find investors that wanted to join them on their journey. So what I've done in the past 10 years is create a network of angel investors that wanted to be building out their portfolio. So one of the things that I've seen in terms of what are the most often seen goals of impact investors, what is their why, is of course impact return. Then the question is, okay, how do you find that? There's benchmarks for that, but usually those become more relevant when the company is at a later stage. In the beginning, it's more of a creative exercise. There's of course the potential for financial return. Is this a company that could potentially grow very big and also very profitable? But just as important motivators are like, okay, is there sort of an intellectual challenge in you being a part of this company? Does it excite you? Does it make you think? Does it make you want to do research in your free time? That's often the motivation that I've seen with a lot of investors. Other motivations are, can you be sort of a more consistent part of this company by becoming a board member, by becoming a mentor on a specific topic that you have an expertise in? Some investors even say, hey, actually would like to join a company and build it together with the founding team, so they become part of the management team. So it's important for you to decide before you start talking to startups, what kind of involvement are you looking for? Because being upfront about that with the entrepreneur when you speak to them is quite important. And the final motivation that I see from impact investors a lot is just the energy, the fun. If there's not sort of a good click with the founder, if you don't feel that being a part of this team, being part of this mission is going to bring positive energy for the both of you, then probably that specific company is going to be a pass for you. So important for you to think about, if you look at these motivating factors, which one is the number one for you, which has the highest priority, which is actually on the bottom of your priority list. And that will already help you sort of make an assessment of what kind of companies you are more keen to have a deeper dive into, and which companies maybe not. So entrepreneurship is all about focus. What do you spend your value and time with as a founder has quite a big impact in your success. So the next one for you as an investor to decide what you focus on is the where. Where do you want to invest? What I see with a lot of angel investors is that they want to invest to a startup that's close to home, a person that they can, let's say an entrepreneur that they can visit, that they can go to the offices, which isn't necessarily a must. It could be that you want to invest in a company that's active in Asia or in Africa, and that you, in today's connected world, you connect through Zoom, and from time to time you visit them in person. But it's important for you to decide first of, where are the type of investments that you want to make, and do you want to specifically exclude the startup being based in a specific country or not? So most companies, when they start something, they start it because they have identified a problem that they know, for example, through their work, and the customers that are most likely to want to buy their products are customers close to home. So what you most often see with startups is that they're looking for investors sort of in proximity. When to start investing and when to exit? This question actually has two dimensions. It has the dimension for you as an investor. Do you want to start already right now? Or do you want to maybe do some first research first? Talk to some other investors about their experiences. Some investors prefer learning by doing. Others prefer learning by doing more research, diving into a specific sector, a specific problem. Again, it's about your journey, your preferences. The other dimension of when is in what stage sort of the company do you invest? Do you invest in the stage where they don't have any customers yet, where they're still innovating on their product, where they're still fully involved in the immersive and creative process of finding, let's say, the customer segment that feels this problem the most, that they want to focus on as a business? Or do you prefer to invest in the stage where they have several customers and they're looking to further grow with all the unique challenges that phase entails? So of course, the last phase is a bit less risky than the first phase, but maybe you like this early process of thinking along the founders about the product. You like that much better and you can add much more value. There's not one stage to invest in that's better than the other. Again, it's about your preferences. The other part that is really important to remember is that when you invest in early stage companies, usually it's going to be a long period of time that you're involved in. From start to exit, usually the average sort of time of a company to reach a maturity where they can decide, for example, to be bought by another company is 8 to 10, 12 years. So you're going to be involved with the sort of journey of this company for a long time. And you also have to realize that maybe in the beginning you only see opportunities and possibilities with the product or the technology, and you make your first investment. You also have to realize that it's not going to be their last financing round. They're going to need more financing rounds in the future, and probably in the next financing rounds, they're also going to look at you as an existing investor, what you're going to do. So when to invest is not only about let's say the first investment you make, it's also about the whole journey of this company. And it's quite important to reserve some capital, not just for the first investments, but also to sort of double down on the companies that are generating impact and are generating sort of good growth in their trajectory. So how and who are two questions that are closely related. So the first question is, how do you want to be involved in the investment process? Do you want to be involved in sourcing startups, finding the best startups in a specific sector to invest in? Or do you approach things a bit more intuitively? Do you approach the people that you meet maybe through connections that you know and trust, people that you meet at an event, maybe focused on a specific theme that you're passionate about? So having some sort of strategy of finding interesting startups to invest in is an important decision to make. And also, how much time do you want to focus on that yourself? Then there's the next phase when you have a group of companies that you want to potentially invest in. How are you going to do the screening? Are you going to do the screening yourself in terms of having the first conversations with the management team? Later on, you probably want to do a bit more diligent work. You want to maybe dive in something called due diligence, looking at the product, the technology, the legals. Some of it is quite logical that you outsource it, for example, legals to a lawyer. But the question is, do you want to engage in all those kind of due diligence? Do you say, no, I trust maybe another investor that has done this before? Those are all questions to ask yourself, and also like, hey, to what degree do you want to do that yourself? Then there's the transaction, maybe negotiating the deal terms or tagging along on deal terms that have already been done. And then there's the more fun part, actually being a part of the company and helping them grow. We talked about that before. Do you maybe want to become a mentor to them? Do you want to maybe be hands-on involved? And also, if the company grows at a later stage and they want to exit, is that something that you say, okay, no, I'll leave that to the new investors to focus on, or is that something maybe from your own expertise that you want to be more closely involved in? These are all important questions to ask yourself, because depending on what are the answers to these questions, you can also decide on who do you need to involve yourself with in becoming successful as an impact investor. What kind of experts do you need as, let's say, complementary people to help you on the different stages that I just described? Because maybe you don't want to spend so much time in, let's say, screening companies, or maybe you want to take a bit more hands-off position and you don't want to be so involved with the company, it doesn't mean that it's not needed. So some of the answers that you give also have an impact on which expertise do you want to surround yourself with in order to be a really great partner, a really great investor for the companies that you work with. My main lesson learned with working with hundreds of startups is that the most important thing is to surround yourself with the best people. So what is your focus? How do you decide what are you going to invest in and what will you not invest in? Are you more about taking decisions from maybe an intuitive perspective, looking at the team, their vision, what change do they want to see in the world, which can be all across different sectors. It could be energy, it could be agri-food, it could be healthcare. Or are you deeply passionate about a specific problem in the world, or a specific industry where you think disruption really needs to happen there? Depending on what choice you make, also depends on where you spend your time, your research, where you build, let's say, a pipeline of entrepreneurs that you're speaking to. And something that can boost this, or something that can help you also build a network of people that can be a part of helping your portfolio companies, is being part of a fund. So you can invest directly in a fund that's working, for example, in the healthcare sector, which could also mean that, basically you invest throughout different phases, because a fund always invests in, let's say, Series A stage, and then invest in the company up until the way that they exit. So it leads to a less higher risk portfolio. Because what you have to realize is that if you take 10 impact companies, unfortunately 7 of them will fail. So you also have to have a propensity to accept the risk and realize that many of them, even though they have a great vision for the future, they will not make it. So it also has an impact on your focus and how much time are you willing to spend into this. Is impact investing a core activity for you, or is it something that you do on the side? Because if you only make, let's say, 3 investments, there's a high chance that all of those 3 will fail, because of the law that only, let's say, 2 out of 10 will lead to, let's say, a positive outcome. And if you then want to make sure that you have a diversified portfolio, it means that you actually have to build a portfolio of 10 to 15 investments. So making that decision, I'm about impact, but I'm also about making, let's say, a decent financial return, has consequences on the activities that you do, has consequences on, let's say, making sure that you can pick the winners. So all of these things are connected, and it's up to you to decide what your focus is, which will then lead on how you spend your time. So what can you learn from startups who failed? The number one reason, according to CB Insights, that startups fail is that they run out of cash. This doesn't mean that that was the main problem. A lot of cases what happens is that they were building a product, they were trying to sell it into the market, and they realized that there was not enough demand, or there was not enough companies or consumers willing to buy it for the price that it took to market that product. But it is often the thing that happens, that companies are on a track sort of to get a product into the market, have a few customers, but they're not yet at the next level where they become profitable, or they're able to raise the next round of funding. And that is a very difficult thing for you to assess as an impact investor. Because if you have, let's say, a portfolio of 5 companies, not all of those 5 will go like this. Some, maybe 1 will immediately be in trouble, but most of them will go Okay, so how do you decide from those which ones are still going to be able to lead to high growth and high impact and which ones aren't? That's actually not so easy, because today's world has a huge supply of companies that are out there trying to create a new or innovative product. 20 years ago, it took a lot of money to build a tech company or to build a hardware company. Today, with the standardization of specific development tools or manufacturing tools, it's actually become much more accessible to create a company, which means that there's much more competition in the marketplace. So an important question to always ask a company that you're speaking to is, who are your competitors? And not only just the big guys out there, the big companies that they see as the companies to beat, but also which other companies are out there in the world trying to solve the same problem as you're trying to solve. Because in my experience, looking at thousands of companies, there's always 3 companies out there that are directly trying to do the same thing as you're trying to do as a startup. And it could be that it's a validation that this is a great company worth investing in. For example, there's a company in the US that has grown to lots of revenue, lots of employees that are validating that there's a problem to be solved in Europe. But it's also could be the case that they're just too late to market. So market entry, are they right at the right time to enter the market, is also something important to think about. So actually looking at what goes wrong and what goes right with startups is an important indicator to use in your conversation with entrepreneurs to assess, okay, where are they at, what are some of their strong points and weak points. And if you look at the team, which is the thing that most people get either attracted by or sort of a disconnect, is not only is there passion, but also are there complementary skill sets? Are they the right team in terms of industry experience to build this? If there's a specific person in the team that is really crucial for the success, but they don't have a lot of shares, but they have been there from the start, it's a bit red flag that the incentives of the company are not well aligned between the founders. And one of let's say the top 5 things that goes wrong in early stage startup is that there's conflict between the founders. And a quick way to sort of solve that from the beginning is that there's an equitable share division. And if it's not there, you as an investor in the early phase can actually make that negotiation point, saying, like, okay, listen, I'm willing to invest, but you need to fix the cap table. So when you start impact investing, it's not only about deciding which companies to invest to and which not, but also really understanding what's the trajectory that companies go throughout their life cycle. What are some of the challenges that they see along the way? And having conversation with founders about these challenges. Because if they're willing to share their perspective and they thought about it, it's an indicator that this is the team that's going to be able to work through all the challenges that it takes to build a company. And that then again gives you more confidence to make a decision that you want to invest in this company. So there's different ways that you can assess the company. You can look at the market, you can look at the team, you can look at the pricing, the business model, the scalability, you can look at the tech. There's all sorts of different, let's say, areas that you can look into. And what makes it easy to have that conversation is to have a sort of a cheat sheet with all the questions that I ask an entrepreneur when I first meet them. And you can download those in the link. I hope that with this video I've given you some of the tips and tricks and some of the questions to ask yourself and of course entrepreneurs that you speak to that will really help you ease into impact investing with higher confidence and a higher chance of success. In order to end off, I want to finalize with a quote from sports. Tennis, don't learn how to play like Roger Federer by watching 300 games on the TV. You learn by doing. So I wish you lots of energy, lots of fun by sort of diving deep into your startup journey, and I hope this video was useful.